It's Zena, your best friend who loves horror. I like vampires. I want to share with you all my list of the smoothest black bloodsuckers in horror. First up, I'd like to talk about Blade from the action horror Blade, 1998. A half vampire, half mortal man becomes a protector of the mortal race while slaying evil vampires. So this is kind of cheating, but I don't care. Blade is so awesome. He's a positive representation of an action horror superhero. Although Blade is stuck between two worlds of being half vampire, half human, he's a master martial artist, a master swordsman, and he's fashionable. Besides all his black leather ensembles, he wears these cool shades and he always has a fresh cut. So yes, he's slaying fashion and he's literally slaying in the streets. Next up, I like to talk about Katrina from Vamp 1986. In this underrated fun comedy horror, two fraternity pledges travel to a sleazy bar in search of a stripper for their college friends, unaware it is occupied by vampires. In this movie, Grace Jones is the vampire seductress Katrina, a dancer at a vampire-run strip club. First off, Grace Jones. But on top of that, Katrina is just such an awesome villain. Sadly, she doesn't have like a lot of screen time, but when we do see her, it's still a strong performance. She barely says anything the times that we do see her. However, I mean, she does scream a couple of times, so I'll take it. But you know what I think is pretty cool is that that's what makes her even more enticing. Perhaps that's just the power of Grace Jones. Grace Jones! I feel like she's the perfect villain. She's very hypnotic. It's like you cannot get enough of her. And she's a fashion goddess. It's like I just want to follow her around. I would become a vampire for her. I'll do it. I would. This movie is far from perfect, but it should have won an Oscar or something just because Grace Jones' costumes alone, top notch. Katrina's wardrobe is a mixture between glamour, high-end couture, and pure bizarreness. Honestly, everyone knows that Grace Jones is a goddess. It's like she seems to have been born to play this role. Next on the list, I like to talk about Mama Waldy, aka Blacula, from Blacula, 1972. An ancient African prince turned into a vampire, found himself in modern Los Angeles. I don't know about you guys, but whenever I think about blaxploitation horror movies, I always think about Blacula. That's the first one that comes to mind. It's just such an influential movie that started a whole movement. I mean, this one was obviously made in the 70s, so of course it's going to be dated because it is somewhat campy just because of that. There are still some genuinely creepy scenes. Nightmare fuel. This one stars William Marshall and he completely rocks this role. I absolutely love the storyline. Blacula, he is an 18th century African prince who travels to Transylvania to ask Count Dracula to stop enslaving his people. And you know, like, Dracula is petty, so you know Dracula bites him, sucks his blood, you know, turns him. Fast forward to 200 years later, he is now in the US. In particular, he's in LA, living it up in the 70s, rocking out with foxy ladies. This is a blaxploitation that is actually directed by a black director, William Crane, the awesome William Crane. Okay, so I decided to give you guys a bonus because I cannot leave these two off the list. I cannot leave this movie off the list. Ganshin from Ganshin, aka Blood Couple, 1973. Dr. Hess Green. Hess ends up getting stabbed by his suicidal assistant George, who just so happens to stab Hess with this ancient dagger that's cursed with vampirism. Fast forward, like literally 6 months down the line, a woman named Ganja, who is George's wife, she decides to check on her husband after not hearing from him in like 6 months. Like, girl, what? Next thing you know, she doesn't even care about her husband. She starts having like a whole new relationship with Hess, even though she finds her husband dead in the basement. Who cares though, right? This movie is an acquired taste. It's definitely not for everyone. However, it is stylish, it is trippy. The reason why these two are on the list, besides from them being ultra, you know, fashionable, these look like some classy vampires, okay? They were living in their own worlds and you know, they were truly enjoying it. This film is very slow. It is the type of film that builds up. Ganshin is not full of gore, however it is more on the artsy side. So if you're someone who's looking for something a little bit more subtle, a little bit more, you know, experimental, but still like a different type of vampire tale, I highly recommend this one. That's my list of the smoothest black bloodsuckers in horror. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. Who are some of your favorites? Feel free to comment below, and thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time.